Welcome to the HR Spoonfuls podcast, brought to you by Andera HR, the home of Help Desk for HR.com and AI for HRHub.com, where you can find assistance from qualified human resources professionals and learn about all things related to the use of artificial intelligence solutions for your HR department. Now listen in as your AI-driven hosts, Alex and Ivy, discuss interesting and current human resources topics, one spoonful at a time.
Hey everyone, ready to dive into something pretty awesome? We're talking 4-day work week today.
Oh yeah, who wouldn't be into that?
Right. And you know what? It might not be such a pipe dream after all.
Seriously?
Yeah. We got a whole bunch of articles on this from one of you listeners. Thanks for those, by the way.
Always appreciate the suggestions.
And guess what? AI, it might just be the key to making this whole 4-day work week thing a reality.
Huh, interesting. But the reality is not many companies are actually doing it yet.
Yeah, you're telling me. I mean, it's only, what, like 9% of companies actually made the switch?
Something like that, yeah. It's a big change.
Huge. You know, it's crazy. The 40-hour work week has been around since, get this, 1940.
Wow, that's a long time.
Like over 80 years. It's about time for a shakeup, don't you think?
For sure. And some pretty influential people are starting to think so too.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
Well, there's Steve Cohen.
Steve Cohen, the Mets owner.
That's the one. He's also a hedge fund founder.
Wow. Okay, so he knows a thing or two about work.
Definitely. And he actually said he thinks the 4-day work week is going to happen.
Really?
Yeah, and because of AI.
That's interesting. What's his reasoning there?
Well, he argues that AI is going to take over all those boring, repetitive tasks that we do.
Like data entry and stuff.
Exactly. And that frees up human brains for the things AI can't do.
The creative stuff, the problem solver.
Exactly. It's not just about working less, it's about working differently, more strategically.
I like that. So it's not just Cohen either. There's actually data backing this up, right?
There is, yeah. Tech.co did a survey, and companies already using a lot of AI are way more open to a 4-day week.
So they're already seeing how AI can change things up, huh?
It seems that way.
Okay, so we got big names making predictions. We got data to back it up. But how would this even work? How would AI make a 4-day week possible?
Well, one of the main arguments is that AI can make us way more productive.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about all the time we waste on those tedious tasks, like scheduling meetings or writing basic reports.
Yeah, I feel that.
AI could potentially do all of that for us.
Really? Even the creative stuff?
Even some of the creative stuff, yeah. Generative AI like ChatGPT, it can write marketing copy, analyze huge amounts of data, all sorts of things.
That's wild. We actually had an article in our stack all about that, embracing the Gen AI revolution.
I saw that one. Really fascinating stuff.
Totally. But, I got to ask, this all sounds great, but what about our jobs?
The big question, right? Is AI going to replace us all?
Yeah. Are we all going to be out of work?
Well, the research actually suggests that's not likely to happen.
Oh, that's good news.
It is. It seems AI is more likely to just change our jobs, not eliminate them completely.
Okay, so like what? We'll be working alongside robots.
More like AI will take care of the boring stuff, and we'll get to focus on the more human stuff.
So the strategy, the creativity, the stuff AI can't do.
Exactly. It's all about collaboration, not replacement.
So AI becomes a tool, not a threat.
That's the idea. But there's a catch, Even with AI doing a bunch of our work, a 4-day work week still needs a huge shift in how we think about work.
So AI alone isn't enough.
Not quite. It's like AI can build the road, but we still got to figure out how to drive on it.
Makes sense. What kind of changes are we talking about?
Well, companies need to be way more open to new ways of working, more experimentation.
More trust in their employees, maybe.
Definitely. Trust is huge. And, we also need to be ready to learn new skills.
Like to keep up with the AI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Professor Nafu from Trinity Business School, he talked about this. We need to be learning how to work with AI, not just be replaced by it.
So it's like upskilling for the future of work.
Exactly. And, while we're talking about the future of work, I think we got to talk about the human side of this whole thing.
Yeah, the whole point is to improve our lives, right?
Right. So is a 4-day work week actually good for people?
Good question. I mean, an extra day off sounds pretty good to me.
To me, too. But what does the research say? Well, the sources suggest a 4-day work week could lead to some pretty significant benefits for employees. The sources suggest a 4-day work week could lead to some pretty significant benefits for employees like improved work-life balance,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
reduce stress and burnout,
I can see that.
and even increase satisfaction and engagement.
Yeah, like having that extra day to recharge would make a big difference.
Absolutely. And happier employees tend to be more productive too.
Right, so it's good for everyone.
Exactly. And it's not just about work either.
What do you mean?
Well, imagine what people could do with an extra day off every week.
Oh, yeah, all sorts of things.
Volunteering, hobbies, spending time with family. It could really improve people's lives.
I like that. But, got to be realistic, too.
Oh, for sure.
There's got to be some downsides, right? Like potential challenges.
Oh, absolutely. It's not all perfect.
Like what? What should we be thinking about?
Well, one of the big concerns is overwork.
Wait, how's that possible with a shorter work week?
Well, just because you're working fewer days doesn't mean you're working less overall.
You see.
There's a risk those 4 days could become super intense.
So like a 4-day burnout instead of a 5-day burnout.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to be careful about that.
So how do we avoid that? How do we make sure it doesn't backfire?
Well, it all comes down to planning and implementation, making sure the transition is done right.
So like what? What needs to happen?
Companies need to really think about how they structure work, you know?
Okay, so like setting clear expectations.
Exactly. And making sure the workload is actually manageable in 4 days.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's not just about cramming 5 days of work into 4.
Right. It might mean streamlining processes, prioritizing tasks differently, using technology more effectively.
So it really requires a shift in mindset, both for companies and employees.
Absolutely. And communication is key, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, and feeling comfortable speaking up if it's too much.
Definitely. And this goes back to what we were talking about before, trust.
Right, companies need to trust their employees to manage their time and workload.
Exactly. It's about focusing on results, not just hours.
I see. So it's a pretty big change.
It is. But it makes me wonder if some industries are better suited to this than others.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, are there some jobs where a 4-day week would be easier to implement?
It's definitely possible. Jobs that are already pretty digital where people work independently a lot.
Okay, so like software development, maybe?
Yeah, or writing, graphic design, things like that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about jobs that require face-to-face interaction?
Like healthcare or retail.
Yeah, or manufacturing. Is a 4-day week even possible in those industries?
It's definitely more challenging, but not necessarily impossible.
So there might be ways to make it work.
Yeah. It might require some creative thinking, flexible schedules, maybe a mix of on-site and remote work.
Or maybe AI could play a role there too, right?
Definitely. AI could handle some of the routine tasks, freeing up human workers for the things that require their expertise.
So even in industries that seem less compatible, there might be solutions.
Exactly. It's all about being open to new ideas and trying things out.
I like that. It's about challenging the status quo.
Right. The 40-hour work week has been around for so long, we just assume it's the only way.
But maybe it's not.
Maybe not. With all the changes happening, it's time to explore new possibilities.
To create a better future of work.
Exactly. A future that works for everyone.
It's exciting to think about.
It is. It feels like we're on the verge of something big.
Yeah, it's like a whole new world of work is opening up.
I agree. And, it's a good time to take a step back and reflect on what we've talked about today.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, from Steve Cohen's predictions to the nitty-gritty of how AI could change everything.
It's been a pretty wild ride.
It has. But I think we've come to some pretty interesting conclusions.
So let's recap. What are the key takeaways here?
Well, it seems like AI could be the thing that finally makes a 4-day work week a reality.
But it's not as simple as just plugging in some robots.
Definitely not. It requires a much bigger shift, a change in how we think about work.
And a willingness to embrace new ways of working.
Absolutely. It's about using technology wisely, empowering employees, and creating a more fulfilling work experience.
And recognizing that we have the power to shape the future of work.
Exactly. It's not predetermined. It's up to us to create it.
That's a really empowering message. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Ooh, I like this.
If a 4-day work week did become the norm, how would you spend that extra day?
That's a great question. What would you do with all that free time?
It's like a blank canvas. What would you create?
It really makes you think about what's important to you.
And how you want to live your life.
Exactly. It's an exciting time to be thinking about these things.
Yeah, it really gets you thinking, doesn't it? Like, wow, this whole conversation has been pretty amazing.
I know, right? It's really eye-opening to think about how much things could change.
Honestly. We started by looking at how things are now and ended up imagining a whole new world of work.
And it's not just about working less, it's about working way differently.
Yeah, more intentionally,
Yeah.
in a way that actually works for us.
I love that. It's been so fascinating to dive into all of this, like where technology meets our work culture and how we can actually achieve a better balance in our lives.
Absolutely. And you know what's really cool? It doesn't feel like we're just talking about some impossible dream.
Right. It feels like things are already starting to shift.
Exactly. We're seeing companies experimenting with new ways of working.
AI is getting more and more advanced.
And people are demanding more flexibility.
It's like everything's coming together at the perfect time.
And it's creating this incredible opportunity to rethink how we work entirely.
And, the best part is we're not just watching this happen.
We're actually a part of it.
Exactly. We get to shape the future of work through the choices we make.
By demanding better, by embracing change.
And that's so empowering. It means we can create a future where work isn't just a chore.
It can be something we actually enjoy, something that helps us grow.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe someday we'll look back on the 40-hour week and be like, how did we ever do that?
I can't wait for that day. But hey, before we wrap this up, I want to thank you for being here and sharing all this amazing insight with us.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, really. Always love these deep dives with you. It's amazing what we discover when we explore these big questions together.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And to all of you listening, thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope this deep dive gave you some new things to think about, maybe even inspired you to imagine your ideal work week.
Because remember, the future of work isn't set in stone. It's something we create together.
It's a blank canvas, just waiting for us to paint our vision on it. So what will you create?
Thanks for listening to HR Spoonfuls. For more episodes like this one, drop by helpdeskforhr.com or aiforhrhub.com and subscribe to our newsletter to receive HR updates and notices when new podcast episodes are posted. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and will join us again soon.